All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched, NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. In this video here, I got one that I found just very fascinating. This is very fascinating stuff to me. A lot of it's going to come down to what kind of stock you put into game score. I'm kind of, I see the value in it, and I'm kind of on the fence about it, but I could be sold on it, I guess. Some of these metrics don't add up to me at all. But this one here, I kind of get it. I actually looked into it a little bit. Game score takes into account a player's field goals, field goal attempts, free throws, free throw attempts, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, steals, blocks, assists, personal fouls, and turnovers. And they take it into a formula and they figure out a player's game score based on that. So obviously the higher percentage you're shooting, the more rebounds and assists and all that kind of stuff, steals, blocks, all that's going to, add up to a high game score. So I took 4 players, and just to show the contrast of them: Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, and Michael Jordan. Now, it took a while to compile this information, so that's why I really didn't do any other players. And Scap Attack, if you guys watch his channel, he kind of encouraged me to throw Nikola Jokic in there. I don't know why people like ESPN and Fox Sports do it about LeBron James all the time. But people don't have the right, the birthright, whatever you want to call it, to have all these great players as teammates. Sometimes that's just not your lot. You just weren't going to have a team full of all-stars and all that kind of stuff. Not everybody can have that, okay? But it's up to us, the fair, objective fan, to kind of, translate and see the difference of a guy who's on a loaded team versus a guy who's not. Akeem Olajuwon's the prime example. He was never a number 1 seed. He did not get the opportunity in his prime to play with other prime star players. So you have to look at Olajuwon. How did he do in the few chances that he had at winning? And I thought he did great. How good did he do based on the quality of his teammates? Again, I thought he did really good. He didn't have, a Wilt Chamberlain type teammates, or a Larry Bird or a Tim Duncan. He didn't have anything close to that. So if you're a ring counter, then you're not objective at all. You're simply leaving out all the important context of it. But anyway, so what I did with game score, I looked at playoff game high game score, the highest game score from either team. So I looked at the teammates of Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Nikola Jokic, and looked at the teammates' game score. How many teammates did they have lead either team in game score? So they were basically the best player on the floor for that game, with all things considered. That's just the bottom line. Some people had more than others, but I find it extremely interesting because we can sit here and debate about what teammate was better than another guy's whatever, but game score kind of takes that out of our hands a little bit and just shows like, hey, you had a teammate who had the ability, the potential ability, whatever you want to call it, to lead both teams in game score, meaning they had the potential to have the best game of either team for that specific game. To me, that's a really good measurement right there. So let me get into it. So Kobe Bryant in his career, now I did not include 97 and 98 because he was not even a starter. So surely just about every game he was going to have a teammate getting a higher game score than he did. But in in 200 games on the dot, from 1999 through 2012, that's Kobe's, entire playoff career, minus the first 2 years when he was coming off the bench. Kobe had 68 teammates with the game-high game score. So that means that they had essentially the best game of anybody who played in that game on either team. So if it was like the Lakers versus Sacramento, you look up all the players on Sacramento and you look up all the players on the Lakers. If one of Kobe's teammates had the highest game score, then you count it right there. That's one. So what's very interesting is Kobe had 68 teammates. That's a percentage of 34% of his games. Now I know a lot of people right away you're going to think, well, Shaq. And yes, Shaq was all over this thing. Of the 68 times that it happened, Shaq was responsible for 44 of them. Obviously, that's a lot. Pau Gasol had 14, more than I thought it would be. Andrew Bynum actually had 2. Lamar Odom had 3. Kwame Brown had 1. Can you believe it? Led both teams in game score. I think it was in 07. I'm not 100%, but I think it was. Actually, I have it right here. Kwame Brown, it was 2006 against Phoenix in Game 3. His game score was only 18.5, but it led both teams, so you got to count it. Karl Malone, his last season, got 1. That would have been 2004. Robert Horry got 1. Derek Fisher got 1. And Glenn Rice got 1. That was in 1999. Yes, it was. Actually, it was the very first game of the first series in 1999. So that would have been Glenn Rice's first playoff game on the Lakers. And he had a 25.9, which isn't bad. So there was 9 different players that Kobe had that got the game-high game score in his career. I find that very interesting. Okay, the next player we're going to look at is LeBron James. LeBron James didn't have as many, but he had 48. LeBron played 287 playoff games, and he had 48 teammates with game-high game scores for a percentage of 16.72 of his games. Now, that's actually a little under half of what Kobe did. But even still, LeBron had 48, which is, that's a lot more help than what the LeBron camp will tell you. That's for sure. Now, of LeBron James's 48 teammates who had the game-high game score, it broke down like this. He had 15 different teammates that did this. So the whole, he didn't have enough help, he didn't have a lot of help, I'm not buying any of that. Wait till we get to Michael Jordan. It's not going to look anything like this. All right. Drew Gooden got 1. Zydrunas Ilgauskas got 1. Daniel Gibson got 1. Dwayne Wade got 10. Chris Bosh, 4. Mario Chalmers, 1. Ray Allen, 2. Tristan Thompson got 1. J.R. Smith got 1. Timothy Mozgov got 1. Channing Frye got 1. Kyrie Irving had 7. Kevin Love had 4. Anthony Davis had 12. That was actually the most of any of his teammates. And D'Angelo Russell, 1. So 48 times it happened, 15 players. Now that is a lot of players. Now I know LeBron didn't have regular teammates throughout his whole career. I mean, he had stretches of the same guys. So that has a lot to do with why there's so many different ones. But still, he obviously had teammates that had the ability to get the game-high game score. That's impressive. So, you got to beat out LeBron. You know what I mean? Like, you got to beat out LeBron and everybody else on your team and everybody else on the other team to have the game-high game score. You're the best player on the floor for that specific game. So again, LeBron had 48 teammates in 287 games for 16.72. All right, now we're going to get to Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic, he played in 80 playoff games so far. And he's had 13 teammates with game-high game scores for a percentage of 16.25% of his games. Now, that's lower than LeBron and less than half of what Kobe was getting. But to hear Scap Attack tell it, Jokic just has all bums. He never played with an all-star. Well, let me tell you, I don't care if they're all-star, they're all-NBA, they're top 75, or they're coming off the bench. If you come off the bench, like, for example, Daniel Gibson, Game 6, Eastern Conference Finals against Detroit, and you shoot 7 for 9 from the field, 5 for 5 3-pointers, and you shoot 12 for 14 from the free throw line for 31 points, and you get the game-high game score, I don't care what the guy was. In that game, he was the best player. LeBron James was 3 for 11 in that game, by the way. So when you have guys that have the potential to go out and do something like this, maybe your team isn't as bad as what everybody makes it out to be. I mean, there's 15 guys that have done this over the course of LeBron's career. You know what I'm saying? Nikola Jokic and his 13 teammates, 2 guys. That's it. Now, granted, he's luckily been able to keep the same team together. And that's another thing that people like Scap Attack don't seem to understand. They've built a rapport and a chemistry. They've already won a championship together. I mean, I don't watch the modern NBA, but I know who the main guys are, like Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray and Jokic. What's the other guy's name? I think Porter Jr. or whatever. I'm just saying, these guys have been playing together for a while now. So that matters just as much, if not more, than having somebody who made an all-star game. Well, in the 13 times that Nikola Jokic's teammate had the game-high game score, 11 of them were Jamal Murray. 2 of them were Aaron Gordon. Now, an interesting piece of information. Jamal Murray missed 15 games in those 80 that Jokic played. He missed 15 of them. He only played 65 of those 80 games. So he probably would have had a few more. He might have had, instead of 11, he might have had 13 or 14 of these. So I'm just saying, absolutely, that could have happened. But anyway, yeah, so only 13, only 2 different players. Aaron Gordon had 2, Jamal Murray 11. But Jokic is still getting help. You know what I mean? I don't care that he didn't make an all-star team or whatever. And Jamal Murray had a few other very high game score games. One of them was like 38 points, but Donovan Mitchell had like 57 points in that game, so he had the high game score. You know what I mean? I think Damian Lillard also had a big game, too, in the playoffs, where Jamal Murray had a really high game score, higher than Jokic's, but Lillard took, the game-high game score. I'm just saying, Murray's not the bum that Scap Attack specifically likes to talk about. I mean, he has actually come up pretty big. Like I said, in 80 games, he played in the 65 that Jamal Murray played in. 11 of the 65, that's about 1 out of every 6. So that's about once per series. Jamal Murray's the best player on the floor. So I'm just saying, that's not nothing. All right, last but not least, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan played in 179 playoff games, and he had 18 teammates with the game-high game score for a percentage of 10.05% of his games. So that's literally 1 out of every 10 games. Michael Jordan had a teammate who had the game-high game score. So, of the 18 times that happened, 2 of them were actually ties, where Jordan tied the players. But I included them anyway. It was 4 different players in the course of Michael Jordan's career. Scottie Pippen had 14 of them, like you would expect. Horace Grant had 2, Tony Kukoc got 1, and Dennis Rodman got 1. That's it. That's it for Jordan's entire career. He had 18 players get the game-high game score. So when you want to talk about help, Michael Jordan is at 10.05% when it comes to game score. That's much lower than Jokic and LeBron, and less than a third of what Kobe was getting. Now, that just means one teammate had a really good game. But Jordan wasn't getting that. You know what I mean? Like, 18 teammates out-game scored him and the other team. I mean, that's really not a lot when you consider what the other guys were getting. It's not. Now, something I find very funny, especially from the Kobe people. Now, if you're a Kobe Bryant fan, you downplay Pau Gasol's importance. I've heard it done. Obviously, if you're a LeBron fan, you're going to downplay Kyrie Irving. You're going to downplay Anthony Davis and Dwayne Wade. Yeah, they were good, but, they were this, they were that. Of course, you're not going to say, yeah, man, they were great. They were vital to their success. No, they don't talk like that. But I'm here to say that Scottie Pippen, I've said this in almost every video when Scottie Pippen is brought up. Scottie Pippen was vital to the Bulls' success. Absolutely vital, especially in the first three-peat. I don't know. Now, when people say that, he couldn't win without Pippen, well, the thing is Jordan could have won without Pippen. He just needed a serviceable, good player, like any other star. You look at anybody who's won more than one championship in, a short amount of time, you're going to find that second star. You just are. You're not going to find one-offs like, Akeem in the 94 Rockets, where he was obviously the one actual star on the team. You're just not going to find it. In fact, the next season in 95, Clyde Drexler was required to complete the back-to-back. That's just how it is. Shaquille O'Neal got to the finals with Penny Hardaway, right? Penny was, I think he was finished third for MVP. It's Penny Hardaway. He was a great player. But then there was a gap of time when he left Orlando until Kobe was of age. Say in 99 is when he made All-NBA, you could say. Well, 3 years went by, 97, 98, 99. They were getting to like Western Conference Finals, the semifinals, but no finals runs, no championships. Not until 2000, when Kobe had cemented himself as like at least a top 10 player in the league, then they started winning. See what I'm saying? But anyway, what I find funny, and again, the Kobe camp likes to downplay Pau Gasol. But let me just tell you this. Pau Gasol led both teams in game score 14 times as Kobe's teammate. The exact same number as Scottie Pippen. But the difference is Pau Gasol played in only, 16 playoff series. 4 in 08, 4 in 09, 4 in 10, 2 in 11, and 2 in 12. 16 playoff series. That's all he played with Kobe. Scottie Pippen played 34 series with Michael Jordan. That's more than double. But yet Pau Gasol has the same number of game-high game scores as Scottie Pippen does. So I'm just saying, maybe Pau Gasol was a little more important than what the Kobe camp likes to say. Just saying. And it's okay, yeah. Kobe needed Pau Gasol to win. It was, I've heard scouts say he just needed a guy. Well, no, he needed a good player. And Pau Gasol was a good player. On his own, not as good. No, of course not. But, with a star, you bring out the best in these players. Pau Gasol going to the Lakers is what should have happened to Chris Bosh and Kevin Love, for example. But that didn't happen. They were not getting the same or more production out of those guys as before they joined playing with LeBron James. Pau Gasol, his numbers and his, just abilities, potential went up. He got better playing with Kobe. Not, go stand in the corner, I'll let you know when I need you kind of thing. No, he was definitely a vital part of their success And, they won 2 championships, back to back. Just like Pippen, vital part of their success. No doubt about it. But let's just not go overboard with it, is all I'm saying. I mean, like I said, Pippen had the game high, the game score game high 14 times. So it wasn't like he had 36 or 44, nothing like that. Shaq had 44, okay? He had 44 game high game scores with Kobe. I'm sure he had more, with other players and whatnot. But anyway, like I said, I find this stuff very fascinating. It really goes to show who had actual good help. And even if you had a player who's a journeyman, comes off the bench, or maybe does a spot start, or just somebody who, usually doesn't have breakout games like that, he gets you one of those, it's huge because it's coming from an unexpected source. You see what I'm saying? And like I said, LeBron James had the most players by far. Kobe Bryant had the highest percentage and total number by far. The number of different teammates, LeBron had 15, is by far the most of these 4 players. Now, I would like to dig into more players and everything, but it took a while to go through this data. This is probably 3 hours worth of research to come up with just those 4 players. It just was. But Kobe played with 9 players, LeBron 15 players, Jokic only had 2 teammates get him game-high game scores. Kobe 9, LeBron 15, Jokic 2, and Jordan had 4 teammates, different teammates, get him game-high game scores. And what's funny is I think Kukoc was in 95. I think it was maybe the first game that Jordan came back. It was something like that. But, hey, Kukoc got it. He got it done. Horace Grant had 2 of them, and the rest were... And Rodman got one. I think it was in the 96 finals. Game 6, actually. And, that was huge. You know what I mean? Yeah, right there shows you. You get that kind of production. The game-high game score from Dennis Rodman. I mean, that's tremendous when you can get that kind of help from a guy like Dennis Rodman, who has very little to offer you as far as offense. To lead both teams in game score, it was incredible. It really was. Now, I'm not like some people go as far as to say Rodman deserved the 96 Finals MVP. No. I mean, he obviously was great on the boards. His defense was just okay, though. If you go back and watch some of the tape and stuff, I mean, he got lost in some of the like the switches and stuff. And Sean Kemp was crushing it inside. I think Longley a lot of the time was like assigned to Kemp, and Kemp was just crushing it inside, especially in those first couple games in Chicago. But Rodman's offense obviously non-existent. I think he averaged like 7 points a game or something. But Rodman was really good. But it was Michael Jordan in Game 3, the first half of Game 3, the last like 10 minutes of half of Game 3, that won the series right there. And he deserved Finals MVP right on the spot. It was they were up 3-0, it was over. No way Seattle was going to win 4 in a row. Let's not be silly. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button. And until next time.